So my mom and dad got divorced when I was 5, and it was just me and my little brother, and it was rough. It was rough. When I turned 12 years old, I started smoking, I started drinking, and I started having sex. He thought a guy tried to rape me. It didn't go down like that. He killed a friend of ours.
When do you accept Jesus Christ? Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into This Is Real with yours truly, Pastor Juan Martinez, a.k.a. Dr. Love.
I almost cut you off.
You almost did, but hey, you wanted to cut off the Dr. Love part. What's up?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm Stephanie Martinez Rafe. How you guys doing?
Man, I'm excited about this show, and let me tell you why I'm excited about the show, because I feel like, you have like Juan, everybody knows me like this, but like there's some folks who know me from like street life or like my drug years or my prison years and all that. And so when I think about this story right here, which we're about to introduce her, it kind of like, I've been talking to my wife about it since 6 o'clock this morning, because I just feel like there's a lot of things we have in common.
Yes.
That I know your story.
Yeah.
Without even living in it, you know what I mean? Because I feel like you know mine.
I know it. I do know
like
it.
everything. So it's like we have that in common, and I feel like those things like just rock me when I see like the Jesus side.
Yeah.
And I am so honored to have with us today Amanda Herring.
Hey, Amanda's in the
What's
building.
up?
What's
Man. Okay. So you were raised in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
We had your husband on the show before, Trey 9, right? Everybody in Houston knows Trey 9. Now you get to meet his wife.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they see Eyes on Me Inc. and all that, and they don't know that this all got started with you and Trey 9.
Yeah, he started Eyes on Me, but I came on board when in its infancy.
Yeah.
He was not even a year old. And we built this thing.
So,
on.
okay. So I don't really even know how to kind of go at it. So
Well, I think it's kind of like what you just shared. So he had already started it, and then you kind of came along. So how did that kind of develop, right? So you guys were already married, or he was doing
I want to
something,
go.
or like,
I want to go right in it.
Yeah.
I want to go like, so okay, you're born in Houston, because just as much as people were like, whoa, his marriage, and your now we get to talk a little bit about your healing and sick and all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
But like, who was Amanda Herring like back in
Way
the
back?
day?
Yeah.
So I was actually, my family's from Humble. Both my mom and dad's side of the family are like in the history books of Humble.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah, they're in
Humility.
Two out of like 7 families, founding families.
Nice.
Yeah, way
Wow.
back. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
So my mom and dad got divorced when I was 5, and it was just me and my little brother, and it was rough. It was rough, like something you see on TV. My dad had people following us, taking pictures of us, and the phones wired up. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But he was worried about my mama, and she was worried about the streets.
So your mama was in the streets too?
She wasn't near as tough as I was,
Okay.
but she was doing her thing a little bit. You
Yeah.
know, she was out there. And so me and my little brother just got kind of, somebody would keep us this night, and then we'd go with another family member this night, be on somebody's couch the next night. It was very unstable and inconsistent, and it was just the adults in our life were failing us.
Yeah.
And I made straight A's and was this child who never got in trouble. I just wanted to do
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
That's how mine started. Go ahead.
100%. I was very insecure though, and I just wanted the adults in my life to get along. And I thought I could just behave and do my thing and, get amazing grades, and that maybe it'll make things better.
Yeah, you could be the
Yes.
reconciler by the way you behave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
The way I behaved,
Totally.
the grades I got. And so that's really what I tried to do. And it wasn't really like so intentional. It was also natural for me to just do the right
you could
thing.
look back and see. Yeah, totally.
But so by the time I was about 11 is when I started realizing, you know what, this ain't working. Like, I'm doing my part and they are not doing their part.
Yeah.
And so when I turned 12 years old, I started smoking, I started drinking, and I started having sex. And that's really kind of what opened the doors.
Totally.
I had a boyfriend who, we were 13 years old, and I didn't know it at first, but one day I found out that he sold dope, that he sold crack. And we were young, but I heard him actually on the phone cussing his mama out, and I was like, what are you doing? He said, my mama smoked all my dope. Like, I sell crack, my mama smoked all my dope, and that's kind of how I was introduced to, okay, this is what's up. Yeah. And so over time, I just started, I was there and I was seeing him hit licks. And so I learned. That's how I learned to, buy
Explain
powder.
hitting licks, just in case somebody
So I
don't know.
learned
Because
how
this is, the name of the
Yeah.
show is This Is Real, so you gotta get
yeah.
raw.
So I learned how to buy powder, how to rock it up,
Yeah.
how to cut it up, and how to serve. We were serving rock for rock at that time.
Yeah.
I was young. And we'd get a hotel for the weekend and make like $2,500, $3,500, and we were kids, and so I was like, wow. And then, by the time I'm tripping, I'm out and staying out in the streets, this and that.
Yeah.
He ended up going to prison in 1995. 2 weeks after it was 2 weeks after his 16th. Before his 16th birthday. He went to jail for murder. He thought a guy tried to rape me. It didn't go down like that, but he was smoking fry and just got paranoid, and he killed a friend of ours. And so he got 20 years 2 weeks after his 16th birthday. The day he went to jail for murder, I found out I was pregnant for the first time, and I ended up having a miscarriage.
Wow.
About 4 weeks in. But when he went to jail, I could have, went a different route. But instead, I just took all his clientele, and that's how I really got into the game myself.
Well, that's usually what happens, right?
That's how we do.
Usually when it's a guy and a girl, if the guy gets locked up, the girl
She's
just finds the next bag or finds whatever she needs to do because she's already in that life.
I was already in the life, and I had learned a lot, and it was just at a point where I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? I'd already got a little taste of it, and I remember being excited that he got 20 years. I thought, man, he'll be home. This ain't gonna be no big deal. Like, it's gonna go down.
Yeah.
And so, that started me for the next 15 years selling crack.
Are you still in high school and stuff? Or did you just get out?
I ended up getting pregnant again when I was 17.
Yep.
And I had my daughter, and I went to a school where I could take her to school with me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she got pink eye. It's crazy. And I couldn't ride the bus with the other kids on the bus. And so they kicked me out for not getting my 20 hours a week or whatever. But I did get my GED while I was there. So it's a program for young mothers. You get your GED, and then you work towards your diploma.
Yeah.
But if you can't get your diploma, you got your GED. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in
really
school,
good.
I still did well in school. After I had my daughter, it was that school was one thing that I loved and that I did well at without really much effort.
So, okay. After that, you get out of school. You're still on drugs. You're still doing everything.
Yeah.
Now it gets, obviously it progresses, right? Because now
it's
it always does.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks like,
it's
the story doesn't end well.
So once I, got my GED and stopped going to school, I went from, smoking weed to popping pills. And then I went to smoking fry. When I was pregnant with my daughter, actually, before I found out, I was a fry head. I was smoking a lot of weed. Then I found out I was pregnant, and I stopped.
That stuff is crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
That makes you think you can fly from top of buildings.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But I got sober long enough to have her, but as soon as she was born, it wasn't long until I was right back. We were kicked on houses, and my daughter ended up going with my mom. My mom got it together right about the time I started tripping.
Yeah.
My mama got it together. But I had already got a taste of it, so I wasn't trying to hear nothing she was talking
it's
about.
like Twilight, right? It's like a vampire.
Yeah.
Like once you taste a little bit, like you gone. You're off to the races. You're biting everything.
Yep. So I ended up, next 15 years, there were days whenever, I started pimping girls. I started stripping. I was escorting, just this whole life, everything that comes with it. That's what comes with it.
So when is it? Because this is chaotic.
Oh yeah.
Right. You have a chaotic life.
Yeah.
When do you accept Jesus Christ? When do you? How does that even happen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you. So whenever I was 9 years old, my old family church in Humble on Main Street, my pastor was 80. He literally was like 82 when he quit preaching. But I had gone to church with my grandma, and I got saved whenever I was 9. So it was a genuine salvation experience. Whenever I accepted Jesus in my heart, I knew what I was doing. I knew the decision I was making, and I made it 100%. So all those years, this is important.
Yeah.
Listeners, this is important. All those years whenever I was in the streets and I'm doing, selling dope and stripping and all this, I never felt okay with it. I never was like, oh, I'm young, I'm just going to get it in and I'll settle down. Never. The Holy Spirit, I was convicted all day, every day. Wow. And I would just cover that with drugs. I would stay high because I was always convicted. I would be like, girl, what are you doing? You know better than this. Jesus had me so convicted at all times. I never thought it was okay. I never, I just knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't going to let me just do it, without just absolute conviction.
What's the
next step? The next thing. So in 2007, I had drank and pretty much drugged myself into a coma. I was at a Pizza Hut in the parking lot. I don't even know how I got there. I drove there literally, evidently.
Totally.
But I don't know if I had my foot on the brake or if the car was up in park, but somebody saw me and they called 911 because I was unresponsive. And I went into the hospital and I was in a coma for 5 days. I was on life support.
Wow.
And it was alcohol, Xanax, and cocaine. I think were the only three things in my I think they were the only three things in my
She's like,
system.
that's
Yeah.
it.
I think that was the only three things in my system. But whenever I woke up in the hospital, you know, one would think that immediately I would have been like, wow, God, what am I doing? You know, like, what the heck? Thank you for saving me. And I didn't. I can't figure it out. I didn't know. I woke up and I was writing because I couldn't talk. And I was writing, get this stuff out of me. Get this stuff out my throat. I'm grown. I'm not, you know, no.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so the doctor said, you're not just going to leave. And so I took the tape off of my nose and I pulled the tubes and I felt them come from here. I felt them come all the way up my throat. And I took them out and I left. So after that, though, it was crazy. But guess what? I kept those papers. So whenever I really am going through it, I look back and I'll get this red box I have them in and I'll look at that paper and I'll read it and I'll be like, it just reminds me of how brutal it was, you know. But after that, it was probably like 10 days, 2 weeks later, and I was at my mom's house on the back porch and I had killed a bottle of whiskey and I was passed out on the porch swing, and whenever I woke up, my 9-year-old daughter was in the street and she was trying to stop somebody to come get her because she was so scared she was going to be stuck with me dead. She knew I had just got out of the hospital and that I had just gone through that, and she was scared she was going to be trapped with me. And I said, Lord, please, God, because in my mind I literally saw what my mama had did to me when I was little, what I was doing to my daughter.
You were just repeating it.
And I could just see a generational curse in my mind. I could just see my daughter with her first daughter. And I was like, please, God, don't let that happen. It gives me chills talking about it. And so I went into treatment. I went into treatment for 52 days. It was in Greenspoint, New Light Church. It was it was called Life Change, and it was life changing. The whole time I was there, from the time I woke up until the time I went to sleep, it was just me and Jesus. I mean, it was just, you know, worship and prayer and reading the Word of God and learning His Word. You know, it was just amazing. And so I came out of that, and I was sober. I met Trey.
That's when you met Trey?
Yeah, so that was, I went in 07. I got out, I think, like January of 08. I met Trey in the end of that year in October, and we ended up we only knew each other for, it was like 6 days, and we knew we loved each other. That's a whole other story in itself.
Yeah.
In that he was separated and getting a divorce, and the minute that we knew that this was more than we liked each other, we said we can't never see each other or talk again until your divorce is final, and we didn't. And the day his divorce is final was our first date in December of 09.
Because Trey doesn't have this life.
No.
Trey's like the good guy, right? So this is like the story. Usually it's the princess and the thug, you know, and I said, no, this one's flipped.
The other way around. Trey's never smoked weed in his life. He's never done a drug in his life.
Totally.
So we met 6 days later. We knew it was something serious, and so we didn't talk again until December 16th. I think it was like 42 days or something we didn't talk. I wrote to him in a journal. We just knew. We already knew. And so our first day was December, and then we got engaged February, and we got married in May.
Wow. Yeah. May of?
2010.
2010.
Nice.
So now you're going in this
good.
relationship. Things are awesome.
Yeah,
you're living a really good life.
I am.
Right?
Things were going great. I was on the front lines of ministry with him while we couldn't see each other for those like 40-something days.
Yeah.
God had birthed in me this ministry, I think to keep me busy, because, you know, I was wondering, like, you know, what is he doing? Is this going to be for real? Is this going to be it? You know, and he was wondering the same thing. But we just kind of knew. But I think that's why God gave me this ministry. I worked at a company where Ritchie Brothers, shout out to Ritchie Brothers, where we do these big.
You do?
Yeah, I used to live in Humble, so I remember
yes. Okay, so I worked there. So we did these huge auctions for like machinery and and so 3 days before, 3 days during, and like 2 days after, they would order food from like chili, sawgrass, whatever, and we'd eat that, and then they would throw it away, and then they would order again for night. So they did lunch and dinner, and so I was like, I know 12 minutes down the road, downtown, that there's people hungry. And I was like, this ain't right. This is not cool. So I started packing my trunk up. And I would go downtown by myself every day when I got off. And on the 6th day, there was like this big line waiting for me. Aww. And they were like, hey, Miss Amanda. And I was like, wow. And so I went home that night and I was journaling. And I said, God, clearly there's a need. And if you provide, I'll go. That was what I said. If you provide, I'll go. So and for a year and 10 months, we fed between 60 and 120 people. And we never had one donor that said, I'm going to pay this much. Nothing like that. It was organic. It was so random. People would say, we have food after Thanksgiving. We have food after Christmas. And then churches came on board and said, we'll
That's
take
when I
one day.
first met you.
Yeah, they said, we'll take one day of the week. And so it became this
That's when I first met her. I did that.
crazy.
Yeah.
I went over there and kind of fed the homeless.
Hey, pass the line,
That's great.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of God birthed that in me. And so once we got married and I thought, this is my life. I'm going to be on the front lines of ministry. We went to Brazil and we went to several different places to do missions.
Yeah.
And then it just
Hold on.
Yeah.
Because then everything's going great. Now we're going to go to about 2013, right? That's what happens. And then all of a sudden something big happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to be right back after this commercial break to hear what happened.
Stay tuned.
We're back.
Welcome back, you guys.
This is like this should be like a little
whirlwind.
movie. Like I almost want to
People tell me that.
Hey,
Oh,
listen,
come on.
we're gonna do
That's
this.
what God's gonna do. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
so okay.
I'm trying to think of the actress that's gonna play her.
Drew Barrymore.
I starred myself in one of Trey's stories that was about me. I mean, one of his videos
Oh,
called Fatherless.
nice.
Yeah, I played
Okay.
myself.
And she's like, hey.
You're
she's
like, it'll be me. I don't need an actress.
No, I didn't have
listen.
speaking roles.
Hey, no, you would do
I
great.
played
You would do
myself.
great.
Yeah.
I think you would do great. You would bring it. You would bring it. Okay, so
yeah.
boom, 2013. What happened?
So
You guys are married.
Actually,
kind
tell
of
me what happens 2013, then we'll go back.
Yeah.
To 2012.
Well, I'll add this one thing from the last segment is that whenever Trey and I got married, we were only married 5 months, and we were feeding the homeless downtown.
Yeah.
And there were 2 little boys under the bridge with their birth mother, and they were homeless, and it was freezing. And so the very first night that we met them, we took them home, and we ended up adopting our boys. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
they were 15 months and 3.5, and we adopted them. So that's Nick and Tristan, and then of course my daughter Tiana, and then our youngest Tice. So 2012, I'm pregnant. And I was hurting so bad, and I was like, something is wrong. What's wrong? And I'd been hurting for a while, but I thought it was rheumatoid arthritis because my family had it really bad.
Yeah.
Well, my doctor said, right after you have your son, we're going to figure it out. So had Tice, went to the hospital or the doctor, and they said, your spine is shot. Like, you need this, this, and this. And so that started me on this next season where I went in for surgery my first time in 2012.
How many surgeries you had?
I've had 6. I've had 1 lumbar and 5 cervical fusions.
So now you are fighting the flesh
the
for one thing, but now you also have pain that actually is
my
asking
goodness.
for things that really probably you shouldn't be doing. And so
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you're in this
Yeah.
dilemma,
Yeah.
what I would call conundrum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you're in a conundrum.
So,
and then?
So my first surgery in 2012, of course, I go to the hospital. I come home, and I'm on pain pills. It was my first surgery, and it had been so long since I'd done anything, taken any pills or done anything like that.
Totally.
And so the very first day I got home, whenever I was laying down when I got up to use the restroom the first time, I took my Band-Aid off of my neck of my surgical scar, and I passed out in my bathroom on the tile floor. And I got up, my friend was there, she helped me get up and stuff. And so I was hurting after that, and I told my doctor, I called him and said, I just want to let you know. And he said, you're going to have some pain, Miss Herring. You're going to have some pain. This is recovery. And so I was like, okay. I kept telling Trey, something is not right. Something's not right. And so my doctor said, come in after 8 to 10 weeks. We'll do imaging and see what's up. I went in for imaging. All of my hardware had collapsed. So that was the first surgery. So we had to go back in and do a revision to fix that. And so I'm on pain pills for that. And then it just ends up every time I go in, that was the first time, but after that, my surgeries were not successful. They wouldn't fuse. My body would not receive the cadaver bone. And so I ended up, so I'm on pain pills, not just short term now. Now I'm on pain pills because every time I'm supposed to be healed, I'm not, and they have to redo it. So I'm on pain pills constantly. And the pain was so relentless, and it became so unbearable, and it was just this nonstop. I went from being on front lines of ministry, doing street ministry with Trey, to being stuck in my bed. I went from boxing and modeling and all this to literally not being able to cook something for my family to eat. And so added to the pain was I knew without a doubt, I just had convinced myself that Trey regretted getting married, that he had to regret that now he was stuck with me with all these issues. I believed it. I believed that now God gave me a chance to be a mom again with these 2 boys, and I could not take care of them. I couldn't hold my newborn. And so I just had convinced myself that everybody was better off without me. Like, it was awful. And so it went from just being on pain pills.
You relapsed.
I got a phone call from somebody called Trey, and he came outside to tell me that my sister had died in a car accident, and my sister was lost. And I had tried to minister to her so many times, and so in my mind I'm seeing, I can't be there for my husband, I can't take care of my kids, my sister's in hell. And it was too much for me, and that's what spurred me to, I left the house, and I went straight to Fifth Ward, straight to a trap house, and it went just from pain pills to being on pain pills. I was back on cocaine. I was back on Xanax. I was drinking.
Oh yeah, because when you come back, usually
you come back all the way, baby.
Yeah.
It's just going down.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going down.
Every time I've ever came back, it's like, man.
Like I said earlier, music immediately. I relapsed. All things immediately.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was the next step. So I was tripping, and my husband had to come save the day. And he
Yeah, he told us that in his interview, how he
yeah.
went out, found you at the trap house,
It was
all
crazy.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's
Talk
wild.
about a movie. Yeah.
So fast forward, when do you make the decision that after he gets you and all that, like when fast forward to now?
Okay. So yeah, whenever there were lots of things that happened during my relapse that were just, I thought, insurmountable. I just thought it was just too far gone. And Trey, instead of treating me like his wife who had really done the fool, he treated me just like any sister in Christ that he would help. And he was like, I'm not going to look at it like this. I'm going to look like, what do I do for strangers? What do I do for, people that are, that are partners? Man, it was, yes.
Come on. That's how we have to think, though, because it's almost like we treat like people that we don't know, like it's okay.
Better, right? Right. No, it's. I don't know why we do that. It's human nature.
So
because I
good.
guess when we're hurt by those who we love the most,
they're closer to you, so
you
you're
know
like,
what I mean?
You should know better.
Yeah, totally. You can't do anything, bro.
Yeah. And so Trey loved me like he
loved you back.
He loved me back, and he.
Damn.
Oh man.
He
and
gospeled.
So he said, "Look, you're gonna have to go back to treatment. You're gonna have to, this is the red
So there
line."
was some things. He's gonna love you back, but
absolutely.
you're gonna have to do this because
There's
that's important.
Oh, it's
that's important because
absolutely
sometimes
important.
you try to love some people back and they're not willing to do the work.
Yeah,
you with me?
I was willing to do whatever it took because when my husband showed me that, something I didn't even say earlier. My dad, whenever my boyfriend went to prison for murder, my dad, he beat me up really bad, and he told me, I'd rather you be dead. I'd rather you be a murderer. I could hire you attorney. I'd rather be this and that, but I can't do nothing with you. And if you never do anything else for me, please get your last name changed. I mean, he didn't want nothing to do with me.
Wow.
So for 9.5 years, he did not. He had nothing to do with me. He hated me, and it was awful. And so there'd be times I'd try to get sober, and then I would see my dad somewhere and fall apart. So whenever Trey loved me and said, look, we're going to be okay. This is going to work. But this, and this. I had never seen that before. I had never experienced that before. And I was willing to do whatever it took. And so I went back to treatment to Wimberley. I was in the hill country, and it was beautiful, and my mind was clear. And I got sober again. And
How long have you been sober now?
I've been sober since 2013. I
Yeah.
believe it was the end of
Come on.
2013. It might have been the very beginning of 2014.
Yeah,
but
nice.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
That's
yeah.
fire.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's not easy,
no, I hear you.
but it's fire, for sure. And so there were things like stipulations like my phone. Anytime Trey wants to go on my phone, anytime he wants to go through anything, because whenever I relapsed again, he went through my stuff. And y'all,
Yeah, he's in shock. Well, yeah, he's never.
I didn't even know all the stuff. On our bed, he just had, there were so many bottles and just paraphernalia. I'm talking about ridiculous.
I
it
get
was it was awful. And so he had full access to anything and everything, and he still does. I mean, my life.
Well, it keeps you accountable, right?
100%.
And we need that.
It'd be
we
foolish
need
to not.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where a lot of people struggle.
Yeah.
Is they're like, I'm not that person
Nah,
anymore.
you gotta
It's like you still gotta keep them
Yeah.
guards
The accountability
up.
is super important. I mean, I know that's what helps me, because I know, everybody got my social media. It's kind of funny. I told my daughter one time, the media people, everybody's got access to my stuff. So no matter what comes in, they kind of see it.
Yeah.
So it kind of, and I know that. And so I'm like, that keeps me kind of it's like a parole officer.
Yeah, straight up. Pastors, y'all stuff gonna be out. People are gonna be out in business.
Yeah, pastor now. I'm still Juan.
Yeah.
I know, I guess, I know I would say when you lie to yourself, you lie to everybody else. And I feel like for me, I know me.
Yeah.
And really well.
Yeah.
And so I just put 55 miles per hour, 35.
Yeah, man, I know.
Because if
I
not,
know.
I'm gone. I say, y'all won't see me. Y'all think.
Yeah,
I go down these little things that happen around me that I'm like, oh, how cute. I wrestle 20 feet demons.
Oh man, come on.
They're 20. They ain't 5'6" or 6'2".
Come back 7 times stronger.
Yeah, they're roar.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's it.
I was like, oh, heck no. I know, when I preach in church, I go, look, if this is Jesus's leg, I hold on to him like this.
Right.
Like, I can't just do the
Train me
whole,
to.
like, oh, no,
Yeah.
like, heck no.
You gotta go in.
I would just go sideways. So
Yeah.
I love talking to you because I hear the same thing.
Yeah.
And so here you are, because I want to get to some of the questions.
Yeah.
Right. So now we know you're saved. You're with Jesus. You're walking this out. So that's an incredible story. But I want to get some of the questions because I feel like the questions
We'll get
really
in
like
some depth.
I'm
ready.
All right, let's kick it off with the first one. It's called Dear Younger Me, right?
And I might put her back in the car because I feel like I got some questions.
Of course. Wouldn't be This Is Real.
Yeah.
We don't go twice.
Yeah. I don't put everybody in the car twice. But there's some stories that I'm like, look, I'm going to put you back. I want to put you back. I want to take you somewhere.
All right, so Dear Younger Me, basically take us back to a younger version of yourself. And it could be at any point, right? We heard a lot about your story. But what were you like? What were you doing? And if you could go back to that younger version of Amanda, what would you tell her? What piece of advice would you tell her?
If I could go back to whenever I started, staying high, breaking the law, in and out of jail and all that stuff, I think that I would have told myself that there were people, there were not many, but there were people in my life that I could have really clung on to. And I would tell myself to do that. I would tell myself to just, let them lead and let me follow, and I would follow because I didn't. So I didn't have a lot of people, but I did have some people in my life that were doing the right thing, and I would have clung on to them if I could go back to my younger self.
I feel like in those days sometimes we get the case of the efforts, and I'm not mean faith. I mean like we get like every little problem we're like, so we don't really see those things because we really want to run.
But at one point there was a choice. You saw, you're like, there's those people.
I'll tell you what else too. I said school was easy for me. I really loved school. There were times whenever I was tripping and I was high and stuff, but I went to college. Like I went to school, and I was a pharmacy tech, and so I should be in prison. I was a pharmacy tech, and I applied to pharmacy school to get my doctorate of pharmacy to be a pharmacist. And all of my friends, I took the PCAT exam, and all of my friends, my score was like so much higher, but I did not get into it. I didn't get accepted. I was an alternate. And at the time I just cried, and I was so devastated, and I was like, why God, I'm really, really trying. And now I look back and I'm like, Jesus, woo, because I had already caught a case. I was already tripping here and a little bit in the pharmacy. And so I would be in prison. Literally, I'd be in prison. And so I would tell
you'd be doctoring yourself, or you'd be like,
yeah. And so I would tell myself, don't be devastated by that moment, because God did that for me, but to keep on with my education and to really put it seriously, because it was easy for me, and I just wish, I'm really close. I'm like 5 classes away from getting my degree, and I want to finish it one day whenever I'm feeling good. I want to.
You should, because even if you took a little step at a time, right? Because sometimes we think like even now, right? In your good days, even if you did a few days,
that's what I did. The last probably maybe like 3 years ago, I took one class at a time, and then took one class, and I got A's, and I loved it. So I'm really close, and I think that I'll finish it. I may never use it, but I want to.
No, you might. Somebody told me about a doctor that's autistic. Somebody was telling me that there's a show about a surgeon. There's like this show, and I was like, what? That they show him doing all the stuff while he's going through his
like what you're saying,
yeah.
as far as like it came easy to you. With I mean, with other people, school's just
that's
super
what I'm
different.
saying.
Me, I'm like I'm good. Like I don't like to study. I don't want to be in school anymore.
And school is where I thrive in school, and so I would tell myself, maybe stay away from the pharmacy, but maybe not that field. But go ahead,
a different one.
You have an assistant going in there. I'll just tell you what to do.
But go ahead and finish. So I would tell myself to try to just stay on track and pursue that.
I think you are telling yourself that though.
I am.
In a way, right now.
Yeah.
So you would have told yourself back then.
I do.
Yeah, that's super
dope. So you're going back to
Okay. So I want to maybe 3 times this time.
That's right.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Hey, you just got back. I'm like, you're going. I'm like the guy with the white hair. We're going somewhere.
Let's go.
Okay, so that would have been the scary part back in the day. You're like, so look. Okay, you're back in the car, and I want you to go back to the moments with your father.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, because you're not the person you were. And I feel like your grace, your mercy, there's a lot of things that probably have grown in you.
Yeah.
And you're not in the same headspace, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you can go back to a moment that you had with your father, and you basically are going to talk to him, what would you say to your dad with what you know now?
Me and my dad, whenever I married Trey, believe it or not, my dad started very slowly coming back into my life. And so for the last 3 years in a row, my birthday was last week, and my dad has sent me birthday cards for the last 3 years. And I've seen him a few times. I saw him on Father's Day. But the damage was unbelievable.
Totally.
And all my brothers and sisters were on drugs, were committing crimes, were in and out of jail, and they lived with him. And he had a relationship with them. But whenever I had my daughter who was biracial, and back in the day, an old humble, I think that was too much for him. And so that's the only difference was me and my siblings, one smoked meth, one ate meth, one snorted meth. I mean, they were all out of there. My sister died in a head-on collision. She was high. My other brother lost his leg in an accident. He's an amputee. He was high. My little brother right now just got out of jail. We tried to help him get on track. He burned off.
Yeah, he burnt off.
Get high, getting high. And so I couldn't understand how they could all live with him, and he would bail him out of jail, and my sister went to prison, got out, lived with him. And I was over here, doing well in school. Yeah, I was tripping, but still I just couldn't understand how can he be that, hate me that much.
Sure.
And so even though we have somewhat of a relationship, it's awkward. It's not a regular father and daughter relationship, but we do have somewhat of a relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a difficult one.
I want you to go back though, right? Maybe where he's, or the time he beat you, or whatever. What you know now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would tell him.
What would this Amanda say? Because there might be somebody out there that, maybe maybe he's going to listen to the show.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, listen, let me tell you something. There was a guy. We had a guy here from Miami, hasn't seen his dad in years, and somehow the dad wound up, and they started coming back together. Wow. And this is all the way from Miami.
Powerful. Wow.
So we can't put that past God.
Yeah.
Right? That one day he's sitting and he hears it. He's just on 100.7 FM, and all of a sudden, he's like, "What? What would you tell your dad?" With everything you know now about Jesus in your life, like if you could go back, what would you say? Talk to him.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
We do it by faith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what would you say?
I don't know. Just because it's hard to speak to a non-believer who thinks that they, he would say that he has a relationship with God.
But what would you say out of your relationship with God? Remember, because you're going off of not what he's done.
Ooh, this is a hard one. You put me on the spot. Let me think. I don't know. I think that I would probably try. I don't know.
Because remember, he's about to beat you, and let's say you go back into that moment. What would you say to him?
Dad, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, and why? I am your flesh and blood. I'm literally. You're telling me you hate me. You're telling me you never want to see me again. You're telling me get my last name changed. Like, look me in my eyes. I would probably grab him and look him right in the face and say, like, look at me, Daddy. What are you doing, and why? I think I would just try to connect that way. Honestly, I don't think it would have worked, but I would have probably tried. Yeah, that was rough. Yeah.
I think your heart's in the right place. I feel like you love your daddy, despite of what he's done, and
I love my dad. And
all girls want to have that relationship with their dad. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and now that my sister's dead, my brother is an amputee. He's sober though now, thank God.
Amen.
And then my little brother is doing his thing. My dad, I know that he's trying by sending me birthday cards, and by, when I do talk to him, he doesn't know how to say I'm sorry. I apologize. But he definitely has tried little baby steps to mend. I think that he's looked at the rest of my siblings and he's got to be like, wow. The only one, and honestly, I thank God. I thank God for the distance, because I am the only one who got out of that house and who got out of that environment,
right,
and who loves Jesus and who has an amazing family and who has a man in my life who just could never compare to the horror of my childhood. And I'm so grateful I escaped. And so even though it was really really hard at the time, I thank God for giving me that distance and removing me, because I know it was his will. I just know it was part of his bigger plan.
I think your life alone is speaking, and I think you are going to reconnect.
Yeah,
I do, because that's what's in your heart.
Yeah.
And so even though you're saying it's hard, I feel like you've tasted basically Jesus through Trey 9. And I feel that even though what your dad has done is difficult, I feel like you you probably can extend the very same
Absolutely.
thing, just based, because I know,
100%.
like,
Yeah.
who's been forgiven much loves
Absolutely.
much, right?
Yeah.
And I know what
Yeah.
we've been forgiven.
Yeah.
You know,
And I
so.
was never mad at my dad during
Right.
that time. I was devastated and heartbroken and so sad. But even now, I've forgiven my daddy. The minute it happened, I forgave him. I didn't hold anger or bitterness. It was just more of heartbreak.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you back in the car.
Let's go
But
back.
I think we're gonna go to a break
All right.
Okay.
before I put you back in the car.
All right.
All
Let's do
right,
it.
we'll be right back. Okay.
Welcome back, you guys.
We're back.
I'm putting you back in the car.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, what would I want to put you back,
Okay.
and with everything you know now,
Yeah.
right? Not what you know about the past per se, but what everything you've learned now. Who Amanda is today with everything she's learned about Jesus in her life. You go back in the car,
Yeah.
and you pop up, and there's your mom.
Yeah.
What would you say to your mom back then when she was tripping?
I think I would say, and me and my mom are best friends, and she's an
Yeah.
amazing woman of God.
Totally.
She's just so powerful.
Totally. I do
think-
these things because sometimes somebody's listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that needs
Yeah.
to
And
hear
then
it. Yeah,
totally
absolutely.
because there might be a mom
Who's
that's
tripping.
listening and
I
she's
agree.
tripping, and then
Yeah.
she hears, "Oh my God, that's my daughter."
Yeah,
and
I
then
agree.
she kicks on. You
I
know?
think that I would remind her about generational curses. And just like that, what I saw flash before my eyes whenever I was tripping and I could just picture my daughter, I think that I would remind my mama, because my mama was saved too. She was
Yeah.
saved too, but she was wilding. So I think I would remind her, like, is this what you want for me? Is this the example that you want to be for
Yeah.
me? Because that's what this is doing.
Yeah.
This is creating a cycle. And so I think I would tell her that.
Wow. Okay.
So good.
Okay.
Oh, so the next one we're jumping
Let's do
into
it.
is called "The Struggle Was Real," right? So you shared, several struggles, and maybe it's one that you've already shared, or maybe it's something else that people may not know.
Yeah.
But the struggle
Or that you're
was real
currently
is
struggling.
or something current. So basically, share with us something that you struggled with, or something that you're struggling with, but more
you
so
overcome
how you overcome it.
I think that it would probably be wanting to be in ministry and the picture in my head that I saw that looked like, and not being able to do it.
Right.
So it was very difficult for me. I had to mourn it. I had to mourn ministry.
Wow.
I had to mourn and really grieve. It went through a grieving process, like when you lose someone, because I had this picture in my mind that Trey and I were going to do this, and we were going to do this with eyes on me, and I just had this big, beautiful, picture of what it was going to look like. And so whenever it all, in my eyes, fell to pieces, and I was so sad about it, I had to grieve it. And so the struggle was for me to have to learn to sit still, to be dependent on others. Come on, man, be dependent on others. Like what? I was not even, Trey would have people lined up to bring food to us and to come help me clean the house, and I wouldn't receive it. I did not know how to receive it. I could not receive somebody coming over and doing my laundry. Just couldn't do it. People would come drop food off and he would receive it, but it was very difficult for me to be able, just to let people help me, including him.
Yeah.
I was independent. Like, I had never needed anybody since I was 12, 13 years old. I did not need anybody. I didn't need you to buy my school clothes. I didn't need you to give me money. I didn't need you, I really didn't need anybody for anything.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it was a struggle for me to just have to sit down, slow down, be trapped in a house where
You're like, hey, I can't get out.
the struggle was real, because I was not, it was just so difficult.
How'd you overcome
Yeah.
it?
God, Jesus, like, it was nothing but answered prayer. So I went from being hating it, wanting to go everywhere and do everything, to begging God to change my heart. God, I would say, God, please, if I can't go out and do ministry, then please bring it to me. And so he did, one at a time. He would bring people into my life. Instead of it being quantity, it was quality.
That's good.
Then it would be one person at a time. One girl that came to work for us, she was, I believe, the first girl that ever worked for us. She worked in our garage. And so, which is changed into a room, I'm sorry. But we built on, when we brought our babies home from under the bridge, we had to build on a few rooms.
No, I hear you. Our office used to be in a house.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. And so I was able to go really, really deep with her, and she needed somebody. She needed a spiritual mother in her life. And so really, that's what God did. He just completely changed. He changed my heart so much to where, like I was telling you earlier, whenever people want to hang out or they want to go do things, I don't really have a desire anymore. Like I love just randomly, like Love Wins. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, shout out to Love Wins.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun, and I loved every minute of it.
You did so good. I heard
Yeah.
nothing but great stuff.
It was so great. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait till next year. But I don't do it. I did so much hanging out whenever I was younger. I don't really want to do no hanging out. God really took that from me. So now I am happy right there in the four walls of my home.
Just happy where you're at.
I'm genuinely happy, and I think that people probably don't quit praying for me. If you're praying for me for my health, please don't stop praying for me. But I think people pray for me also, like because they think I want to get out and I want to be involved and I want to do this. And there's moments of that where I kind of miss it.
Totally.
But no, God has really given me peace. He
Wow.
He has given me peace in my home with my children, to where it's just nothing but the Lord.
Yeah,
It's
I feel like you've
100%
gotten to a
180.
place where you're embracing the process.
180,
Sometimes
yeah.
we like, embrace the process, but we don't really embrace
Yeah.
the process.
Oh,
and so
I'm with it.
understanding where you're at
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
and I
it's
think
really
it kind of
good.
like, it's like a redemption too, because you were sharing how you were 11 and all these adults around you weren't acting right, and couldn't take care of you, and you were the child. And so
Yeah.
it's like, even though maybe it's not parents, but there's people now, like your
care of
husband and the people who were taking care of you. So it's kind of, he flipped it, to where he's
That's
like, hey,
dope.
you have to take care of all these people.
Yeah.
Now you have all these people who are going to take care of you. So I
Yeah.
think that's really awesome.
Yeah, so it might not be a
That is
struggle
really
to some, but it was really a struggle for me at first.
Hey, how do you, because obviously you still kind of go through your days where they're
Oh, my
difficult
Whew.
and like pain and,
So bad.
hoping that your last surgery now fuses. Is that the word you use?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that that's like a current struggle
Oh my goodness.
that you're constantly overcoming?
Constantly.
Yeah, because you have to live with it, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because it's not like boom, hey guys,
Yeah.
right? How do you do that? Now, to me, you're amazing. I'm like, I love you. Like just seeing everything, but just seeing how you even, when you met Greg, because you met Greg and she's like, oh my
Oh
God,
my
like
gosh.
she turned on, like you're in
Yeah.
pain. Let me help you.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And then
Yeah.
the first thing he did was, Amanda's coming. Hey, let me talk to her.
It's
Because
amazing,
when they meet, they
Yeah.
know what it is to be in
They
constant
truly
pain.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Like-
something I'd never dealt with. I'd never had a broken bone in my life. I'd never been hospitalized except to have 2 C-sections. So I didn't know what it was like. So whenever I look back and I would be like, God, why won't you heal me? I know you can do it and you're not. And I just couldn't figure it out. And I would be, God, I believe that all things work together for the good of those who Lord. I know that's true. I can't figure out all things. I can't figure out how this is one of them things.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. And God, He really changed my heart to where now I know He has given me such empathy for people with chronic pain. I don't pray for them from a place of, I'm sad, I'm just going to pray you feel better. It's
Yeah.
like something deep down within me that I get it. And I want to do whatever I can to help. And I'm going to pray for you, blood, sweat, and tears, from
Yeah,
just a
totally.
place that really is truly understanding. Just God has given me, He's given me that ability to see and to know and to want to help and to be able to have some wisdom from dealing with it. But it's definitely a struggle, like 100%.
So keeping your mind on good things, right?
Yeah,
Keeping your thoughts,
a
I
lot
guess
of-
it's kind of...
Whenever I'm hurting, like I had, 6
Because you
good-
can't go just load up on pills either,
Oh,
right?
no,
'Cause
no, not at all. I don't take
you're
them
like
at
in
all.
this.
Yeah. So anytime I have a good day, I'm so excited. I thank God. Sometimes I have good hours, and I thank God for them.
You just had a
That's
good
so
week.
good.
I had
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna say I had like
Come on.
6 days. I had like 6 days, and it was off the chain, and I was so excited. And so it will get me to really excited though, to where I think, oh my gosh, is this it? And I never let myself go there 100%
Yeah.
because I cannot take the devastation of here we go again. And so I don't. I just say, God, I'm gonna thank you for this day. I'm gonna praise you for this day.
Yeah, because God is still good, right?
Oh, He's
You've
so
gotten
good.
to that place.
Absolutely.
Obviously,
So
it
good,
seems
yeah.
like God is
Yeah.
good regardless of how you're
Yeah.
feeling.
100%.
Yeah.
So the last week has been brutal. I mean, absolutely awful. Up until yesterday, today's a little better, and I think because I was
Yeah.
ready to come here and
Yeah, yeah.
share and get it in. But yeah, I have very absolutely brutal days, terrible days where I can't get out of bed, where I can't feed my family, where I can't do laundry. And it's that's part of the struggle, something that is still a struggle. But like I said, I thank God. This is what I do, y'all. I walk through my house and out loud I say, God, thank you that it's me and not my children. Lord, thank you that my kids are not in Texas
Texas.
Children's Medical Center,
Yeah,
that it's not
yeah.
them. And I'll say, thank you, God, that I don't have to work, that I don't have to sit in traffic to drive an hour from here to work in an office 9 to 5. I will verbally speak out loud all of the things that I'm so grateful for. And that's how I deal with it, because I can't take pain pills. I will not take pain pills.
Yeah,
Good.
totally.
Period.
That's fire.
Yeah.
That is good.
Okay, what's the final one?
All right, yeah, we got a couple minutes, and we'll end on a little fun one, you know. So the final one is "You Think You Know Me," right? So you shared a little bit, and I like that. You know, somebody gave you the nickname A9, right? Mrs.
Hey,
A9. But, you know, they probably got a lot of misconceived notions out there about who Amanda is. Maybe people who knew you before, maybe people who maybe just don't see you at all. And they're like, Amanda's probably like this.
All that.
Yeah. And so "You Think You Know Me" is, you know, you got to set the record straight. You think you know me. You think I'm like this, but I'm really like that.
This. Yeah. And you got to start off with, and you know, I know you got this in you, so, you know, you got to give it that, you know, you think you know me.
Yeah. Okay, you think you know me, but I think I should piggyback off of the last segment. I think people really do think that I'm probably sitting over there just the sad Amanda who just can't go do anything with Trey 9 and who wants to go do this and who wants to go to shows and who wants to go all this. And yes, would it be nice? Yes. But I'm not sitting over there needing anybody to feel sorry for me, and I'm not sitting over there sad and lonely. I'm just not. God has taken me to a different place. I'm over that. So I'm home because I choose to be home.
Yeah.
I love to be home with my kids. I'm so grateful that I can be there to take my son to school every morning, to pick him up every day after school, to be involved in their daily, you know, lives. And so I'm not feeling sorry for myself and sad and down and blue. I have moments where I hurt, and the physical pain is, is very debilitating, very hard to deal with. But the emotional and the spiritual stuff, like, I'm not, you know, dying and wishing that I could just do a million things. I'm just not. God gave me peace with it. And also, I'm a nurturer. I am such a nurturer. So anybody in our lives that is a spiritual son or daughter, I'm very much hands-on and very much involved in their walk. And they, you know, I have a lot of people who come to me one-on-one, like as a mom to them.
So you're still ministering?
Oh, all day, every day. And I'm so grateful to be able to do it. So yeah, God took away the quantity again, but he gave me the quality. And one by one, I'm able to go really deep with people. And I love it. I love every minute of it. No matter how I feel, I get to do that.
Yeah.
That's
my
dope.
good days, my bad days, I'm able to do it.
Yeah, and one thing you shared before is that it is in a sense still the ministry that you saw, because
100%.
He wouldn't be able to go out and do the things if home wasn't taken care of.
Yeah, there's I think a lot of people see Trey, and what y'all see is what y'all get. There is no other Trey. Let me say that. My husband, what everybody sees is exactly the man that he is. There's no, Trey behind the scenes who gets loud and angry, and there's nothing. That's not him. There's no part of him. It could be his, his life could be on the front page of the newspaper every day, and that's exactly what me and my children see at home. Period. I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think that's what's important, in anyone who's in ministry, you know?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I lost track for a minute.
You're good.
But I'm losing my train of thought.
No, you're good.
Trey cannot do all of the things that he does, and he reminds me all the time.
Yeah.
If I was not able to be, like, I'm not worried about him going over here and having to deal with these women who are prostitutes on the street.
Yeah,
I'm not worrying about, what is
well,
he?
He's out for
he has
5 good boundaries too.
100%. But I'm not worrying about, he's out too long. He's going to the prison to see these guys. He might not be home tonight till midnight. Like, all of those little things, like, those are things that I have 100% faith and trust in him, and 100% faith and trust in God, and there's no wishy-washy.
Amanda, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Juan Martinez from This Is Real.
And I'm Stephanie Rave, and we're so glad you joined us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you get notified every single time we have a new episode.
And don't forget, in Houston, Texas, on 100.7 FM, every single Saturday night, we're on the airwaves from 6:30 to 7:30, man, with real people, real problems, real solutions. The show is rocking.
Amen.
But not only is the show rocking, we're also reaching 53 cities, 51 state and county jails and prisons. And what we're doing is we're bringing the word to them. We're bringing them some laughter and some good times and some fire.
Amen.
And so for that, we need some partners. So if you want to partner with us, please click on the link below.
And don't forget to follow us on social media, #ThisIsReal, or on any other platforms, Pastor Juan Martinez.
Hey, that's a wrap. Peace.